Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of WrestleMagic. Today, myself and Maintenance Maverick are here to talk about what it's like to actually go to a wrestling convention and meet wrestlers and see what they have to say and give their feedback back to their fans as far as what they express and how they are actually as human beings and how they interact with everybody else. So, Mav, how you doing?
Doing pretty good out here, man. I mean, just got back from Italy, ran a nice race out there, had a lot of amazing food, and I kind of want to go back. I missed it already. What about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Let's talk about Italy for a second. First of all, tell me about this race.
I mean, it was another marathon, 26 miles. Went there. I guess it was named after some sort of opera composer. I don't know a whole lot about opera, guys, so please don't at me on that. I guess his name was Verdi. I don't really know a whole lot about him, but yeah, I guess he wrote a lot of operas and stuff. And during the race, they actually had speakers in like random mile spots that were playing opera music, like blasting it, because I could hear it through my headphones. And I was like, holy I can't
You gotta be,
hear
you
my
gotta be
music.
kidding me. Come on. Did they really do that?
Yes, they actually did that. But end of the race was very cool just because they were like serving everybody pasta and stuff and really taking care of everybody. The thing that annoyed me was like there was no race shirts, no race hoodies, or any of that kind of merchandise for sale. It was just like, okay, here's your medal. It's kind of it. Grab as much food as you want, and then hit the road, get back to your hotel or wherever you came from.
Now, as far as pasta goes, though, tell us about the food in Italy.
My God, pasta was great, pizza was incredible, and I have not had that good of food since I've been in England. I'll tell you that much. And it felt like everywhere I went, like everywhere felt like a mom and pop shop where I was going, and I miss it already so much just because it felt so nice being able to just walk into some of these places. Even like the gelato places were incredible. It was just so much lighter and fluffier than regular ice cream, and it was amazing. Tiramisu flavor over dark chocolate flavor. Oh my God, it killed. Yeah, man, highly recommend if you ever get a chance.
I mean, yeah, one day, Aeroplume, France, one day. Um,
Flume, yeah.
so yeah, so I mean, the food was awesome. So you had pasta. Any particular pastas like Alfredo's or just like a regular noodles and gravy, or was there anything that you highly just it blew your socks off like lasagna? Your mother and I a long time ago like that was one of our favorite things was to make lasagna. So I didn't know if you had lasagna or not.
I tried to get lasagna. The one place that I went to, though, they weren't serving it at that time. It was kind of weird. They had different hours for different food schedules and stuff. They're like, yeah, that starts at 7 or whatever. But the gnocchi was incredible out there. Just the regular
Oh,
pasta. Oh man, it hit. Everything just hit different out there. I'm not gonna lie to you. But don't want to bore the people too much with talking about pasta in Italy and everything. Let's get into this conversation as it is, man.
yeah. So when you're out and doing your travels, you got to go to a wrestling convention. So I'm kind of curious, what was that experience like? First of all, how long was the lines and how bad were the tickets?
Okay, so the tickets for the convention itself was like $20 for the weekend. So it's really not bad, honestly. Being able to go in there, even if you just went with the free ticket and didn't like, or not the free ticket, but like the ticket itself, just that £20, it wouldn't be that bad if you were to go for what I would call the free experience because you get to sit in for all these Q&A sessions. You can see pretty much everybody go up and answer all these questions about their careers and experiences that they've gone through. Plus, there's so much merchandise and everything there that you can buy. But once again, even if you were just to go for the free atmosphere and everything, it's pretty awesome. And just being able to chill out with other wrestling fans in a very large setting like that, honestly, was an incredible experience. I highly recommend it for anybody, even if you just want to go cheap way out, pay your £20 to get in and just relax, or do like I did and try to meet as many people as you can. I mean, that gets a little bit pricey if you're going for like autographs and stuff, because I think autographs, depending on who it was, it could be up to, I'd say, about $50 ish for their autograph, which depending on who it is, like if you're going up to Sting or Lex Luger or somebody, it's like, all right, this is a guy with serious legacy, it makes sense. Or, some people like God, who was there? The guy who was Heath Slater. He was there. And no disrespect to the guy, it's just he didn't have as big of a career, obviously. And yeah, he was charging, I think, like maybe 20, 25, something like that for an autograph, which, hey, I don't knock him for it. He's got more TV time than I do for sure. Can't blame him.
That's
I don't remember
fair
how
enough.
much selfies and stuff it was going for, but you could also do that option.
Okay, so we're going to ask you a couple questions about some of the wrestlers that you had seen there. First of all, who do you think who had the biggest line as far as wrestlers to get an autograph?
Biggest line, I would say throughout the day, it was probably between, well, that's kind of a harder question because Sting was only there one day. So it was a
So
2 day
he's going to have
event, but Sting, wait, what?
a huge line. That makes sense.
Yeah, because and also Sting, I don't know if it was earlier this year, sometime late last year, he had announced, hey, this is the last year that I'm going to wear the Stinger face paint for conventions and meet and greets and all this stuff. I'm done after 2025. So a lot of people were like, hey, this is the last chance I'm going to be able to get a picture with Sting in his full face paint and everything. So a lot of people were like, hey, I have to do this now. So I kind of get it. And him only being there that one day, that didn't really give an option for Sunday. So it is what it is, schedules or whatever. It's cool. But I would say Sting probably had the longest and most consistent line.
Okay, so what about Mick Foley? Did anything? How was his line? Tell me about that.
So his line, I was actually kind of impressed because his had a system to it. I noticed where it was like they had like a number system of some sort. I think he was close to selling out or something for like the pre-orders for being able to get autographs and pictures with him and everything. I believe Sting did sell out completely on that. But Mick, his line, it was like, okay, numbers 1 through 10, and there was still a lot of people coming through for that just the whole time, it felt like. And he had a long line that was like snaked around and everything. Everybody else's was pretty much just straight to the person. And Mick himself, I gotta say, meeting him, he was one cool freaking dude. I can't lie about that, man. And something that I really respected about him when I was in line waiting to get his autograph, I actually saw if you bought a selfie with him, he would take 4 with you, or 3 or 4. He would take your phone and everything. He would take the selfie with you normal. Then he would take a bunch of this dude love gear, put it on, take a picture with you, take that off, put on the mankind mask, take that picture with you as well, just to show like, hey, I have many faces. Here you go. I'm going to give you all of them. I really respect that about Mick.
It's pretty awesome. So, anything special happened to you in line when you were doing that?
All right. So with the way that the line was snaked around and everything, I was waiting in line, and there's a point where I was like 5 feet away from him, but still far back in the line from the way it was snaked. And I remember like they're playing different wrestling music throughout the arena, keeping everybody just, I don't know if I'd say at bay or whatever, but everybody was kind of getting into it a little bit. And I remember they started playing Shawn Michaels theme, Sexy Boy. And I'm not thinking about it. Nobody's really thinking about it. We're all just kind of like bobbing our heads, maybe mouthing the words or whatever. That's exactly what I was doing. And then I look over, Mick starts doing like a little dance in his seat. I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, like, he looks over, he's like, yeah, sing it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have to sing this now. So I start saying it out loud, and he joins in, and I'm like, my God, I am singing with Mick Foley in the middle of a random public setting. This is the strangest experience that I could have ever imagined to happen to me. I don't know what to do now besides continue for this moment. I gotta say, Mick is just such a genuine person. He is one of the coolest people ever, and I was able to go up and talk to him about all kinds of stuff, honestly, for a minute. He gave me just that time, and even afterwards, I was like, man, I feel like he's one of the nicest people that I've met, potentially in life, not just celebrities or wrestlers. He seems like the realest dude ever.
Did you bring up to him the cameo he did for you years ago that your friend got an autograph
I
for him?
I definitely did, and he was. I didn't show him the video or anything, but I just explained the whole situation, and he didn't remember the moment it happened or anything. Obviously, I mean, he's probably done it 100 times, but he was like asking me questions about it. Like I was telling him, like, yeah, a friend of mine asked you to make a video for me on their phone. And he immediately was like, I did it, right? I was like, yeah, of course. And he's like, oh, thank God, like holding himself accountable for the past. So I'm thinking like, man, do you think I was going to come up here and confront him about this or something? But no, great guy. And I did get to bring it up, and he was really excited, even just hearing about the past parts of that, and talked a little bit about things that are going on in my life. Like I've started becoming a volunteer victims advocate and all kinds of other things. And, him having his help with certain helplines and everything that he has done over the years. He's put in a lot of hours to that kind of stuff. And it's amazing that he and I could connect in that kind of way.
Oh, that's an amazing thing. That is, and folks, if you don't know what that is, please look it up because honestly, this is something that is genuine that helps people every day, and there are people out there who need help, and you have to help those who need help. If it's not help, it's suffering. So going forward, so tell me who else you saw. As you're walking through, navigate us through this wrestling convention.
All right.
Put us in
So
eyes.
let me think back a little bit. So that Saturday, I remember I came in, and that was the day that I had a photo with Lex Luger and Sting scheduled. So I'm kind of like waiting around, checking out the shops real quick. And there was a guy with I think it was like almost every belt that you could think of, like in any of the main shows and products. He had the old ECW belt. He had New Japan's IWGP belts. He had TNA belts. He had like everything that I could really think of that was any major promotion, it felt like. Then I remember, so I'm waiting around for the picture to come up because they had time slots for that kind of stuff. And as I'm waiting around, they start doing these Q&A sessions. One of the first ones was Mike Chioda, I believe. And
Okay.
honestly, listening to some of these guys' experiences is pretty awesome. And I really liked hearing what Mike Chioda had to say, and him talking about like referees just as much a part of the match. You don't really realize it because they're kind of just in the way or doing whatever it feels like sometimes, but they are just as much there. And he didn't really say that, but that's all I was thinking was like, you were just as much part of the show, and nobody really realizes it until there's somebody who doesn't know how to do it as well as you. You know what I mean? Like he even talked about Shawn Michaels apparently used to give a lot of referees a lot of issues when they didn't do something right in the match. He would like call them out in front of fans and everything. He said he never had that issue with him because he always did his best with Shawn, and Shawn respected him for it.
Eh, I don't respect Shawn as much as most people do. He was a great performer, and however, I still think he was a crybaby and Vince's guy to watch in the shower. So, but
Potentially, but
Mike Chioda, though, I think I would love to talk to him for hours. I'd love to sit down with him and just, what did you see? What wasn't supposed to happen? What did happen? I would love for hours just to talk to him. I'm very jealous. Honestly, I'm very jealous of your experience here. Um, so from Kyoto, who else did you see? Or did anybody surprise you? Like, did you actually accidentally like bump into anybody or anything like that?
let me think here. So that Saturday, I don't remember running into anybody really besides what was it? So picture with Sting and Luger came up. I remember I went up and everything, and I was kind of shocked with how I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but this is just what I saw, what I experienced. Everyone, please don't take it as like me talking bad about somebody. But Luger didn't seem too interested in interacting with those coming up to him, unless like there was a kid involved. Like the people that were in front of me, real nice people. They were talking to me in the line and everything. It was just a guy and his daughter who was maybe like 7 or 8 or something like that. Like she walked up to Lex Luger immediately, like he's like shaking her hand, smiling, saying hi and everything. The dad walks over to like shake his hand. Obviously, he paid for the picture and everything. And I don't even think Lex looked at him or anything, and like just stared at the camera. I was like, what is this dude doing? Sting, however, friendly enough, but they were kind of rushing everybody through the photo session, because I remember I walked up, shook Sting's hand, went over to shake Lex Luger's hand, didn't even look at me. And I'm thinking like, man, maybe he's got something going on. Maybe he didn't like traveling. Maybe he was jet lagged or whatever. I don't care, but just kind of felt a little rude. But it's whatever. I get it. But
Just told
Sting,
me last.
however friendly as he could be. What was that?
I was gonna say, just tell me the last name is Brody, and he would have shook your hand and then ran away in his wheelchair. As you
Man. But yeah, Sting was friendly as he could be for those like 20 seconds or whatever that walk up, got the picture, shook his hand, told him, hey, thank you for your contributions to wrestling, and, stepped away from him. But yeah, it felt like they were kind of rushing you through when you were doing the official pictures that way. But yeah, then going through Saturday, listening to Jacques Rougeau's Q&A was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed listening to all of his stories, and there's been a lot of history about him and the British Bulldogs and everything, but he did end up talking kind of positively more about Davey Boy Smith and everything, and explained how they actually buried the hatchet after all the incidents that went on with Dynamite Kid, and they actually talked it out and said, like, hey, we don't need to be at odds because of what happened with that. We can move forward after Davey Boy Smith returned to the company. But yeah, I ended up getting his autograph. I gotta say, Jacques Rougeau is actually a pretty nice guy. I really liked speaking with him for a minute, and kind of hope that I can speak with him again at some point, just because he was very cool. Miss Jacqueline, very,
I was going to
very
ask
nice
you
lady.
if you interacted with females, so tell me about Jacqueline, please.
Jacqueline. So if I remember right, her Q&A, the one thing that I really remember that stuck out to me was at the very, very end. Can't really swear to say it, PG thing on the show. But so one of the fans walked up and asked, like, can you please call me a psycho B word? And it was like the very end of her Q&A. She shrugged, got over the rope, like stared at this dude so intently and called him exactly what he asked her to. I remember I kind of laughed a little bit. And then after she was done, I walked over to her stand, got an autograph from her. She was the nicest lady that I could have met there. And she gave me an autograph, and she spelled my name wrong on it. And I was asking her a couple questions and stuff. And we talked for a little bit. And then she looked at the paper again. She's like, I need to give you a new one. I put a T in your name for some reason. Threw that out, grabbed me a new one. And I was like, man, she didn't have to do that. She could just hand it to me and just not cared. But nice enough to really pay attention and really try to help me out. I really like that. And yeah, Miss Jacqueline, very nice person. I will give her absolute credit. I'd like to speak with her as well one day. But let me think here. Mark Henry, got his Q&A was like, I was glued to it.
What's he like?
Just listening to the way. Like? Honestly, the way that I kind of want to describe him, he's like the Shaq of wrestling, like just a giant lovable character almost. And you're just like, okay, whatever he's got to say. And he's got experiences galore. And he talked a little about his kids and his family life and everything that he had to say. I just wanted to keep listening. And then going over and then waiting for his autograph for a little bit. Once again, seeing how he interacts with different fans. There's a kid that walked up or was in the front of the line to his table. And I remember he was sitting there. His agent is like getting certain things ready, like the 8x10s or whatever he was going to sign and stuff. He called the kid over, was like, "Hey man, I want to show you pictures like what my son's doing and stuff," and like just talking with him and just being a cool guy. And I really can appreciate that kind of thing, just having that moment to be like, "Hey, you're a fan, you guys paid for your time, just come on up, let's just talk for a minute," even though my stuff's not ready yet. He's just that kind of a guy, and he was actually late coming over back to the signing booth because I think he was held up just taking pictures and everything with different fans, and God, I respect him for that.
As far as Mark Henry goes, as far as his in-ring, I was never a fan. There's nothing that he ever did that impressed me. It was punch, slap, kick, body slam. That's all he had. However, as a locker room leader and what they said and what he said went, I respect that. I respect him as a human being. I respect him as strong as he is. When The Undertaker said he moved a bus by himself, I mean, I respect a lot. When he was brought into AEW, and from somebody that we both know who talks to somebody who works there, he said, it's hard to work with these kids because they don't respect anything, but they would cower in fear when he walked down the hallway. And I respect Mark Henry for everything that he's contributed as far as being a backstage person. On camera, even like everybody, the Halls of Pain, that was weak. That was just punch, kick, body slam. But God, man, that guy is amazing. I'd love to talk to him any day. I would love to hear who cowers in his footsteps, and I would love to hear his inspirations. I saw one interview, and I don't know if you've ever seen this. He was talking about like he was dressing across from Ron Simmons, Farouk. And Ron Simmons looks at him and said, "You want to try me?" And he's like, "No, I don't." And for a guy that strong, say no, I don't. Ron Simmons is legit. So, but Mark Henry, yeah, I'd love to talk to him because I think he's a great human being, and honestly, I think he's contributed more backstage than he ever did on screen. So, as you were,
Oh,
so,
absolutely. And something else that he even talked about, like I think somebody asked him about like his favorite moments that he had in a TV, and I think one of the main things that he had talked about was his fake retirement. God, that was actually a
yeah,
pretty cool moment, and I will give him credit. It was nice to watch, and I remember that very, very fondly about him. And I even walked up to his booth and talked to him a little bit about it, and he just had the biggest smile when we were talking about it. But it was kind of funny to see because they put the four members of the Nation of Domination next to each other, like the booths, and their Q&A session was actually pretty cool too. They were really awesome. But seeing them interact with each other as well, like they're yelling to each other and like bringing each other over for random stories and stuff that they're telling fans about, and it was really cool. And D'Lo Brown, really nice guy. Got to meet him as well. Walked up to get his autograph, and he filled that out for me pretty quick. And we were exchanging some information for a minute. And I was writing something down for him, and I hadn't really eaten that day. And I realized that I was shaking, and I was like, it might be a little bit due to nervousness, knowing who that I'm writing this down for, but also that. And I even just acknowledged it, and he's like, nah, man, don't worry about it. I don't bite unless you pay extra. And somehow, I don't know what his assistant said, but it led to a conversation that we were having about foot fetishes all of a
eh.
sudden. And I will say,
He
D'Lo and I
did.
have the same agreement. Feet are not interesting to us for some reason. We don't get it. And I remember bringing up, like, do the same people who like feet like elbows and eyelids? I don't understand it. That's just how I view them. He's like, yeah, plus they're smelly and gross. I don't get it either. And yeah, I just didn't expect to have that interaction or
Do
conversation
you
with
know?
D'Lo, but he was a really nice guy.
Do you know the slang term for your elbow?
But
The little
the
skin that
penis.
hangs up. Weenus, yes, the weenus. Should we call this episode the weenus?
No.
Weenus if you come. Oh God. Oh yes, it's all about the weenus. So one time when I was living in Memphis, I was clearing out my bar that I worked, and we were about to have a party come in, so I had to pull all the bar stools out because we're gonna do first come first serve, and like we used to have like 500-600 people in the bar, and so we're clearing it out, and I just backed my elbow into a big bar stool, and this hillbilly says, "Hey man, you hurt your weenus?" And I looked at him and said, "I know what my weenus is. It's my favorite part. Leave me alone, you pervert." And then my hillbilly bartender, Megan, was like, God rest her soul. She said, "That's your elbow skin, boy. That's what they call it down here." And I looked back at him, and he was walking out the door shaking his head, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I screwed up." But the point is, yes, you do call that skin weenus, and yes, do not hurt that. So, moving forward. So, what was it like to see? And did you actually have any questions with the Nation of Domination?
So I was not somebody who was able to grab the mic and ask any questions or anything like that, and I didn't really want to take up too much of their time when I was going up and talking to them. But no, I didn't really get to ask any questions directly to them about anything. But one thing that I did find interesting about the Nation while they were up there talking was they actually brought up the point that a lot of the things that you hear on TV, things like "know your role," that came from Ron Simmons. It was one of the Rock's phrases, but it was something that Ron Simmons used to say whenever a group of people was driving in a car together, they'd expect the rookie to drive. And if somebody looked at Ron Simmons, he'd be the one to like look at the rookie, throw him the keys, and be like, "Know your role." Immediately, that was just his thing. And Mark Henry, his thing was what was it? That's what I do. He started that was just a phrase that he used to say all the time. Like I guess he used to go out partying and to the clubs and stuff before his matches the night before or whatever. And somebody would ask him like, "Man, how are you able to do all this?" And he would just say, "That's what I do." That was just a part of something that got written into TV eventually. So it was interesting hearing them talk about that. And honestly, The Godfather is a very interesting guy. Just seeing him on stage as Papa Shango instead of just the regular Godfather. It's like, I don't know, man. It was just interesting seeing his presence change from one day to another, and like the makeup and everything. But they all seemed like genuine guys. They were pretty cool with the fans, and that's what I really appreciated about almost everybody there, was just how greatly that they were interacting with everybody. I really loved seeing it.
That's awesome, man. I'm so envious because I've never got to go to I've never had the opportunity to go to a wrestling convention. And I think that this is amazing for people to understand who's approachable, who's not approachable. Obviously, this is going to be a very abridged WrestleMagic show, but today was a great spotlight on you, Maverick. And is there anything else you want to talk about this experience, or anybody you say to go to or not to go to, or you sent me pictures. What about Sonny Ono? You were standing behind him.
Okay, so while I was waiting in the line for Mark Henry, he wasn't back to the booth yet. And all of a sudden, like, Sonny Ono was just like walking around. He just seemed like he was bored or whatever. And then, like, we're all still waiting for Mark Henry. He just walks up to the front of the line, looks at whoever's behind the desk at the booth, like, I don't know who he's texting and trying to set things up with, try to get Mark Henry back over there, whatever he was doing. And also, Sonny Ono was just, that's not the Mark Henry. He's not handsome enough. He's not Henry. And just, like, walked away. And we're all just like, okay, thanks. And then, I don't know, he just had a very funny personality about him, and I appreciated it.
He's kind of promo.
Exactly. It was great. He just left doing that. But then, let me think here. Who else was there? So, I will say meeting the Great Muta, honestly,
Talk about that.
Insane to me. Love meeting Muta just because he was such a cool guy. And I speak very little Japanese. I won't lie. I won't hide it. But I spoke just a little bit to him, and he smiled, and he was like thanking me in English instead of Japanese. And I was like, I know you speak English, but I wanted to like be able to tell you some of these things in your native language, so maybe it hits a little bit harder or whatever. And then similar things happened over with I went over and met Tajiri, and he actually started to speak with me a little bit in Japanese, and I told him like a couple of sentences into it, like, hey, my Japanese is so, and he like stopped me. He was like, no, you're doing very good. And I was like, oh, appreciate it. And he was a very nice dude, and I was just buying a shirt off him because I thought it looked cool. But either way, Tajiri was really cool. Muda was awesome. They were both selling. What's up?
Oh, you've had such an experience. Keep going.
So both of them were selling. How do I put this? It was like a canvas with mist that they sprayed on it and then like autographed it. Both of them were selling it, but Tajiri was selling it for half the price. But I had to go for Muda's. I'm not gonna lie, but it was really cool just to have that experience, be able to talk to them. And yeah, Muda's Mist was, I mean, it was a little expensive, but I'm kind of glad that I have it. I really like having that. But yeah, I really enjoyed meeting the both of them, and they were really cool about it. And it was kind of funny because I don't know who it was that was sitting with Sonny Ono. Maybe it was like his son, a manager, somebody. When I started speaking Japanese with Tajiri, like this dude's eyes just got super wide looking at me like, who is this dude? I have no idea who he was, but just the look on his face when he saw me just start conversating with Tajiri was just shocking, but it was kind of fun to watch.
Man. I'm so envious of what you did at a WrestleCon. So, as far as your WrestleCon experience went, how would you rate it? At the end,
I would rate it as an 8 just because, man, it is such a money pit because it's so cool, but there's so many things there that are like, oh my God, I need it, but I don't, but I want to spend money on it because it's so cool. And then there's a surprise the last day, actually. Grado had taken the place of Sting because he left that Saturday, so Sunday, Grado just kind of shows up, and I accidentally ran into him for a second, but I didn't want to like bother him. He was on his way back to his table, and I'm like, oh, he's here? And then I just see like the table now, instead of Sting, it says Grado at the top. I'm like, oh, cool, fair enough. But yeah, he seemed like a pretty chill guy as well, and honestly, all the fans there, such nice people, and we're all just kind of nerding out. You know, we can all be weird together at that point. We all know that we're all into this stuff, and nobody's gonna judge each other for it. Yeah, we're all gonna sing "Sexy Boy" together because we don't care. And every time that Johannes Andrew's theme would play, you'd hear people clap right on beat. Every time that Cody Rhodes' entrance music would start playing, everybody would scream, "Whoa!" for no reason as soon as it would start. It was just a great experience, and I highly recommend anybody go to it. This one was called For the Love of Wrestling. Next year, I guess they're hoping to get some more people involved with it, some more wrestlers. I guess one of the first ones, they actually had The Undertaker, so they've got some credit to their belt for sure. I mean, this year they had Sabu there, they had Mick, they had, God, all the names that I've already listed. They had some of the guys that aren't really as big, in my opinion. Like they had Dana Brooke there, who I was just kind of like, okay, you're here and I find you attractive, but I don't know anything about your career.
Seven
And that's
shots of
kind of
Jaeger,
sad.
Dana Brooke would probably hook up, but whatever.
What was that?
I said 7 shots of Jaeger, and Dana Brooke and I would probably hook up.
If you say so, man. But yeah, it's all I could think was like,
I meant for
okay,
her, not
you
for
were. That's what I figured.
well, both. Yeah, both. Actually, honestly, I think she is very. I think a lot of people do not respect that she is very strong, and she's a great wrestler, and she is very attractive minus the plastic surgery. She is amazing. Matt and I talked about this on the regular podcast many, many years ago. Like she has potential, but they just never tapped it. So
Yeah, I can see that, but yeah, I just kind of felt bad because I'm like, I don't know anything about you. How do I know pretty much everybody else here? Like, I know Jinder Mahal over there, and funny story, guys. I actually ran into him at a chicken place the night before the whole convention. It was him, Tyler Breeze, and Heath Slater actually were at a table together, and I'm sitting there eating, and I look up and I'm like, it's Jinder. I don't know who the other two guys are. And I looked them up like, oh, okay, that's who it is. But yeah, it was a really cool experience seeing everybody there. Highly recommend anybody go to these if you just want to be able to finally let that nerd out that maybe you hide when you're at work or whatever. Because I know it's kind of weird to like show off and be a full-on wrestling fan, but being there, running into your Macho Man cosplayers and whatever, it's a nice feeling to finally be liberated that way.
well, it sounds like you had a great experience, and obviously this is going to be an abridged version of WrestleMagic. We're not going to go on for hours and hours. And between the hour difference between Maverick and myself, we want to make sure that everybody just has a great day, great night, and we also need a good night's sleep. So, with that being said, Mav, do you have a movie and more or less a stuttering song?
So I'm not gonna lie. Unfortunately, I do not have a movie this week. My brain has just kind of been out of it after doing marathons and everything. I was out and everywhere else. My brain wasn't really preparing for all of this. But if I could recommend a song for anybody, I actually just found this while I was running because I had it playing in my headphones. Back from the Dead by Hailstorm. My God, that vocalist has pipes, and I really love listening to Hailstorm. But yeah, highly recommend it. Back from the Dead was very good sounding. You guys know how to reach me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Maintenance Mav. As you guys know, I say every time now, do something nice for somebody. You never know who needs it. Sometimes you just got to step in and help somebody out once in a while. With that, I'm out. Take it away, Gardner.
All right. So I'm going to tell you that you can reach me at 144Captain on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it at this point. My movie for the day is V for Vendetta, and people are going to say it's cop out, but the fact is, Frank Miller wrote a comic book when I was 14 about Batman getting into drugs, and he was that's the origin actually of the way they did this, and that's why I remember the 5th of November with gunpowder, treason, and plot. We see no reason why gunpowder and treason should never be forgot. Guy, stick him up on high, put him in a bonfire and watch him die. A guy is a scarecrow to Americans, and that's what they burn in streets. That's their version of the 4th of July. Now, with that being said, that's the movie. The song, Sum 41, Fat Lip. They got a wild hair, so let's try that for a second. It'll be fun. With that being said, I'm your gardener, Michael Gross, the original last podcaster on WWEpodcast.com. Thank you. Good day.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.